Hi, my name is Nicole. Welcome to my channel, Travel to Money. In this video, I'm going to share some advice and things I wish I knew before I traveled to Norway. We'll cover things that will save you money, save your stomach, and prepare you for what to pack. If you are new here, I have created this channel to help you learn about how to travel, adventure, and have fun on the road to financial independence. I have traveled the world, I own a couple of houses in Spain, and I'm on a creative journey to financial independence. I believe the road to financial freedom can and should be fun. I hope you'll subscribe and join me on this journey, no matter where you are starting from. Earlier this year, I took my first trip to Norway, and hopefully not my last. What a beautiful country, full of kind people and adventure. There are a few things I wish I had known before going that would have helped me to prepare, and those are the things I want to share with you today. Number one, Norway is expensive. Outside of the United States, it is probably the most expensive country I've ever visited. It's a good thing that I booked a woofing work exchange, which you can learn about from this video right up here, because I don't think I could have afforded it as a vacation. If you know me, I'm all about budget travel, and I'm not going to lie, Norway is a harder place to budget travel than most. However, if you can at least cover most of your expenses by doing something like woofing, work exchange, camping, or couch surfing, I think you can still make it work on a budget. For number two, we're going to stay on the topic of money for a second. The currency is not the euro like most of the other countries in Europe. This isn't necessarily bad, but if you're traveling through Europe, it's just one extra thing you have to deal with. The currency is the kroner. It's not that hard to convert though. One US dollar is about 10 kroner. If there is a price tag that says 200 on it, that means it's roughly $20. Just take a zero off and it will get you close to the dollar amount so that you have an idea of what you're spending in US dollars. I got some cash from an ATM, but I only used the cash once when a card machine wasn't working at a food truck. I think it's always good to have a little cash on hand, but you wouldn't need much. To avoid fees and high currency exchange rates, make sure you're using a credit or debit card that doesn't charge international fees. I usually use my USAA credit card when I travel. USAA is a banking institution set up for military members and their families. I was able to get an account because my father was a former Marine. You've probably heard of them. I've used them for banking and car insurance, and I've always been pleased. I choose them during international travel over the credit cards that I usually use in the US, specifically because they don't charge international fees. Now, I believe their debit cards are different and you may incur a 1% transaction fee internationally. Instead of waiting until you arrive in the Oslo airport to get cash from an ATM, you can contact your US bank in advance and request another currency. Make sure that you do that at least a week in advance just to be safe. Another credit card option with no international fees is Capital One Saver One. I don't have this card, but I have two other Capital One cards and I really like their options. Number three is to be prepared with layers, even in the middle of summer. It does make it a little tricky if you're trying to pack light, but you'll need shorts, t-shirts, pants, sweaters, jackets, beanies, a rain jacket, and probably more. I went for 3 weeks in July and I hardly wore shorts. It was in the 50s and 60s a lot of the time. There were several days where we were bringing in lots of wood for the log burning stove to keep the house warm. Now, we particularly had some bad luck with rain. It rained probably 80% of the time we were in Norway. If we had been there for the last 2 weeks of June, we would have had constant sunshine. I did hear that it's not like that every July and that the amount of rain was unusual, but just be prepared. And when the sun comes out, be ready. That time of year, you are a lot closer to the sun and it is intense. Between May and July, you get crazy hours of sunlight. In July, the sun would set sometime around 11 p.m. and would rise around 4 a.m. Even a while after sunset, it was not completely dark. Of course, if you visit in winter, you'll hardly have any sunlight and you should only pack for the cold, cold, cold. Anyhow, a pair of sunglasses wouldn't hurt either. Okay, on to number four. The next thing you might really want to think about is motion sickness. My friend, who often struggles with motion sickness, got sick on the train, the bus, and riding in cars along the small, winding roads along the fjords. It was not fun for her, and it was a good thing we had those wax airplane bags ready because she had to use them regularly on this trip. The funny thing is, I hardly ever get sick, but I was not feeling well a couple of times either. If you're someone who already struggles with motion sickness, you may know what it's like to be prepared for this. We found the little C-band acupressure wristbands at a pharmacy in Norway, so that was nice, but I'm sure you could order some on Amazon or Walmart in advance. Number 5 is just an awareness about the food. I'm mostly vegetarian, and it's not that it's incredibly difficult to find vegetarian food, but Norway is not a place that is known for its vegetarian options. If you are a pescatarian, you're in luck. There is a lot of fresh seafood. Specifically, Norway is known for having the best salmon in the world, and apparently introduced it to the Japanese for sushi. And if you're an omnivore, you're in luck. There will be plenty of meat options for you everywhere. Back to my vegetarians for a moment. Just like almost any country, you'll have the most options when you visit the bigger cities like Oslo. I enjoyed just about every meal I had in Norway, and I think you'll be able to find what you're looking for. Fun fact about food, Norwegians really love tacos, and it's common for families to have a taco night. There's a joke in Norway that Tex-Mex is the national food. From my experience on the farm we were at along the fjord, soup was the most common dish, which we usually ate twice a day. Number 6 is a quick tip about train tickets. More than likely, you'll be flying into Oslo. If you're going into the city of Oslo from the airport, there are 2 train options, but it's easy to think there's just one. When you walk into the main part of the airport, there are huge signs and fancy stations for Flyticket in orange and navy blue, and they are the only obvious choice. We made the mistake of taking that train when we arrived in Oslo. It's almost twice the cost of the regional train at around $20 per person. But if you walk around to the other side of the big and fancy Flyticket area, there are other terminals where you can purchase VY tickets. Even better, you can just download the VY app on your phone and purchase your tickets there. These tickets from the airport to Oslo Center are closer to $10 per person. Now, the train isn't going to be quite as fancy, and they'll be a little more crowded, but they're just fine and will save you a little money. You can use the VY app to buy other train tickets around Oslo as well. They have daily tickets you can buy for certain zones if you're going to be jumping around the city. Oslo is also very walkable, so it all just depends on where you're planning to go. If you want to learn more about Oslo specifically, check out this video right here. Number 7 is going to be about a cheap way to travel, which is camping. In Norway, they care a lot about the outdoors and the freedom to access the outdoors. In almost all of Norway, you can pitch a tent and camp wherever you want. Just make sure you leave behind no traces and help them to care for the beautiful outdoors. There are also several camping sites across the country where it is relatively cheap to camp and will give you access to a warm shower, the ability to wash your clothes, and charge your batteries. The freedom to go anywhere includes the national parks, so there is no fee to visit. Tip number 8 is about the Northern Lights. If you go to Norway in the summer, you won't be able to see them. They're only visible from October to April, and even then you'll need to be in the northern part of Norway to view them. Now I'd like to give you a few tips for general etiquette in Norway. Just like many other European countries, restaurant waitstaff are paid a good salary. It is not expected that you tip the waitstaff, although always appreciated if the service is top-notch. In the case that you do tip, something around 5% would be well received. Speaking of restaurants and waitstaff, because the staff are paid a good hourly wage, you'll never be rushed to leave your table when enjoying a meal or a coffee. When we were in the small town near our work exchange, we walked by a little coffee shop that was closed. Outside was a refrigerated box with brown cheese, which is a common Norwegian food, and you could just open it and take it. There is a QR code where you can scan and pay. Throughout other places in Norway, you may see baskets of berries or cherries, and this same system of trust is employed. It is important that you don't break this trust. Since many of us don't have the banking system to make a transfer for the items, you can make use of the boxes where you can leave cash in this type of instance. Norwegians are very kind, and there seems to be a general trust among everyone, although it's not a kindness that you experience in outgoing ways that you might find in other countries. Rather, you'll find that it's more reserved. To me, it reminds me a lot of Colorado. I'm from the South where you wave at people and say hello while passing. So when I moved to Colorado for a while, it took a bit to get used to a more reserved kindness. In any case, the people of Norway are very kind. Okay, well, I hope you've learned something today, and I would greatly appreciate if you would like this video and subscribe to join me every Sunday where travel and adventure build financial freedom. I can't wait to see where your dreams will take you.